Welcome to Channel's Book Club. I am Olakunle Kasumo. It was Mariana Hack who said, fantasy or fiction is just a person's secret life, a world they want to be in. The only difference between the fiction writers and you is that they wrote it, printed it, and shared it with the world. That's exactly what up-and-coming writer Tope Fajingbesi has done with her new book, Love in Cancun, which is a crossbreed between fiction and reality. Tope, who is also the author of What is the Color of Money, is not just about writing books that entertain, but also books that help readers find meaning in a world that at times seems meaningless. Tope is our guest author on today's episode. Let's get to know her a bit more.
My name is Tope Fajingbesi Balogun. I live in Washington, D.C. and Lagos and Abuja. I am an accountant by day, but a writer in the evening and a life coach as well. I enjoy traveling, especially to places that have, water. So I love the beach side. I get inspired by the beach side all the time. Love in Cancun is just my attempt to inspire the world to speak boldly and greatly about what they want in life. I went to Cancun as my 4th solo vacation, which I do every year, after I lost my dad and I left my job as an accountant. I wanted some clarity. I wanted, God to speak to me about what to do next in my life. So off I went to Cancun for 6 days without a phone, without a camera, without a computer. And I just sat by the beach and wrote with my hand. And I started writing just a diary of what I was noticing. But then I soon changed it to fantasy, to make it a love story, so that people could see, what their mind was capable of. And funny enough, I met the man after the book.
Every week in Lagos and a few other cities in Nigeria, you will find one book event or another taking place. We often find ourselves attending book signings, book launches, and book reading events regularly. Maybe that is a sign that Nigerians enjoy books much more than they are given credit for, or maybe not. Well, Tope Fajingbesi recently had an event to publicly introduce her new book, Love in Cancun.
My choice of Cancun was for a place that I could feel that breeze and I didn't have any distractions. So I'm looking for ideas for the next place to go. So if you guys have something, let me know.
Right at the heart of Victoria Island, Lagos, southwest of Nigeria, Tope Fajingbesi recently brought together people from different walks of life to explore a book that means much to her.
I found love. Love for God in spite of his invisibility. Love for my life in spite of my flaws. Love for the world in spite of its turbulence. Love for my purpose in spite of its challenges. Love for my inner circle in spite of their imperfections. Love for the ocean in spite of my inabilities. Indeed, I found love in Cancun. On its beautiful beaches, in its gentle breeze, and especially its amazing souls. In Rigo, when he declared, "You make my day very happy." And Carlos, when he kept his promise to make me coconut fritters on Friday. In Juan, when he greeted me with tea and mixed fruit juice every morning. And in all the men and women who smiled, spoke, and nodded. Through them all, I found love in Cancun. Cancun was my 4th solo vacation without a phone. And I want to challenge everybody to try this thing within the next 12 months. Wherever you go without your phone. Go without a laptop. Go without a camera. And you will you'll come back with not just a bestseller, an Amazon.com bestseller, but you'll come back with a better understanding of yourself.
There were questions, and a number of them had to do with the getting to know and learning from the woman behind Love in Cancun.
I've seen you write your first book, What Color is Your Money?
Yeah.
And all those your analogies and everything, which was actually from you, interestingly. Yeah. So how do you, I want to draw some inspiration in terms of being able to focus, and how you are able to complete this thing. You set your mind to do something and then you complete.
Wow. Thank you so much for asking me that question, because I have to first of all say that I am the biggest procrastinator you've ever met, and that's the truth. But this second book was actually easier for me to write than the first book. The first book was a finance book, and I had been an accountant for 15 years at the time. So, you know, it was supposed to be easy, but it was just really hard. But what I realized was the difference between the first book and the second book is one of them was naturally me. Look at this. I can't move anywhere without a pen. I have to have a pen, and there has to be a small paper that I can jot down my thoughts. That's the way I think. But then when you're writing about something that is you, something that is, you know, when I write all these things on Facebook, they're just jumping out of my head, and I need an outlet to pour it into. So it was easy for me to write about something that, you know, fits my purpose, which is trying to help people make sense of this life that we're living. And the easiest part was actually writing the book, which I wrote by hand. This whole thing I wrote by hand. Remember, I didn't have a computer, and I didn't have a phone, so I wrote it in like 2 notebooks.
I think a lot of the things you're touching on have to do with self-actualization, right? So how do you explain that? How do you explain this to someone, to people? Because it's some people will say, look, it's easier for you to make decisions about actualizing yourself when you at least have certain bases covered.
I always say something. I teach a class now, the purpose-driven life, and I always say, if you're not ready, because life is just happening, to fly with your fear, you can run the hustle parallel. And I ran that hustle for 14 years, parallel. Because you can run parallel for the rest of your life. And you will never feel like you're ready to let it go. But I will never know if I don't try. The problem with many of us is that side hustle will never grow because we're not honoring what God has called us to do.
From accountancy to running a foundation for children, how is Tope able to juggle a busy life with writing?
People really think I do a lot more than I actually do in real life. I have to tell you, first of all, that I'm a very, very passionate writer. You have to be called to do it. You have to be led to do it. And, you know, for me, I believe that each human being has 2 duties in life, just 2. The first one is to find why they were created. The second one is to find who was supposed to help them, you know, make that why happen. For me, if I'm interacting with you and I don't see those 2 questions being answered in our interaction, you're probably not going to get a response from me. So it's very important that I, you know, limit my interaction to that. In terms of me doing it all, not really. Well, during the week, I sleep for maybe 4 hours a night, but Saturdays and Sundays, most of the time, I am asleep. But when I'm awake, I try to use the waking hours very much. And most of the time, I'm writing, so people think I'm very active and I'm very, you know, like this morning, I woke up, I prayed, I slept back, I slept till 10 o'clock in the morning. Many of you were already in church and out and about. So, you know, it's just a system that I've perfected so well.
Love, relationships, self-discovery, adventure and meaning. Those are what Love in Cancun is all about, and the same can be said about its author.